The following program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
The first time on camera, Casey Anthony, the woman infamously accused and later acquitted of murdering her own daughter, Kaylee.
As to the charge of first-degree murder, not guilty.
Casey's never told her story.
Is now addressing lingering questions more than a decade after that not guilty decision.
911, what's your emergency? My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
Including why it took a month to report Kaylee's disappearance and what happened on the last day she saw her daughter.
The only person in this world that matters to me still is my daughter. But I'm still defending the fact that I didn't hurt her.
In a 3-part limited series, Anthony blames her father, George, for the tragic death, alleging that he staged Kaylee's drowning in order to cover up that he might have been abusing his granddaughter. She tells Peacock, owned by NBC Universal, which also owns NBC News, that the day Kaylee disappeared, she actually fell asleep with the 2-year-old child in her arms, only to be awakened by her father, later holding the lifeless child. In the series, Casey says, "She was soaking wet. I can see him standing there with her in his arms and hand her to me and telling me that it's my fault, that I did that I caused that. But he didn't rush to call 911 and he wasn't trying to resuscitate her." For 31 days, Anthony says she thought her daughter was alive and well while she stayed with a boyfriend.
She was perfect.
But back in 2011, Anthony's defense team telling a different story, arguing in court that Kaylee was not killed, but drowned in the family pool. And after the child was found, he helped dispose of the body in order to cover up the death, something George Anthony repeatedly denied during testimony. Casey Anthony now admits she lied about a host of circumstances to police as a consequence of a fractured family life and a father who lawyers accused of sexually abusing her for years.
I lied. But no one asked why.
George Anthony also vehemently denied those abuse allegations in court and has never been charged with any crimes related to them. He has not responded yet to our new request for comment on the documentary. As one of the most controversial trials in recent memory,
you do everything in your power to protect your daughter.
Deepens with another voice and another chapter. And Casey Anthony was convicted of several charges, including lying to police, for which she served time behind bars. That documentary will be available on November 29th on Peacock. Guys, back to you.
All right, Sam Brock for us there in Florida. Sam,
are you ready? Hello everybody, it's Jeff. Good to see everybody. Pretty nice day here today. It was sunny out and everything. We had a little bit of some cold last night, but nothing really that was enough for me to actually crank the heat up over. But we're having a pretty mild winter here so far. We had that night that I was talking with you and we was having some snow, sleet kind of thing going on. The next morning when I got up and it was nice out and everything, I decided to go out there and clear my truck off. When I was walking out onto the snow, I guess, to get to the truck, I noticed I wasn't sinking into the snow. I weigh almost 300 pounds, okay? I don't know, about 285, something like that, I guess. And that's like the first time in a long time that I walked out onto the snow and it just didn't give way under my feet, which I felt was kind of weird. It also kind of was a little bit dangerous too, because you could easily just slide right down that shit, if you're not careful. So I kind of just stomped hard on it to get it to break under my feet, so that way I would avoid that. So I get to the truck, and from the roof of the truck all the way down to the nose of the truck, it's just a big block of ice, snow on ice, like a glacier in the shape of my truck. Okay, so I get my my scraper out, okay, in the truck, and I try to begin clearing the truck off. And I noticed, hey, this is hard to move here. I mean, because I'm giving it all I got here and putting my weight behind it, and it just ain't budging. That's never happened before either. So I said, well, I'm going to go back into the loft there and get my snow shovel out and bring that out here. Well, I had better luck with the snow shovel, because the snow shovel can get right underneath, basically, because it's thin, and you can just kind of pry it up as you go. Once I got the top layer of ice off, it was easy to finish it with the scraper. But boy, what a job. I mean, just to do that, just to clear the windshield off and the nose of the truck, it took me a good almost 30 minutes, I'm going to say, almost 30 minutes. And I had the truck running, with the heat blasting into the windshield and everything to give me help, but all it was doing was just melting the bottom layers of the snow, but the top ice, was still there. So I got it cleared off, and I was like, wow. But it was a good thing that wind wasn't blowing and that the sun was out, because the sun, the heat of the sun was helping to get a lot of the snow off on the driver's side, because that's where the sun was facing, so that side I didn't have to touch. But the other side was like just solid ice. So I was kind of, amazed at that. And the snow that we've been getting has been very wet, So we're not getting like the kind of snow Maine usually gets for winter. But I'm still thinking that at some point there's going to be that blizzard, we got to have at least one before we call it a day in the winter here. But we haven't really got that yet. We just got a lot of heavy snow, which has brought down, power lines and stuff like that. But, there's not a whole lot of snow on the ground. It's just caking up on the branches and wires and stuff. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this bitch here, Casey Anthony. Okay, usually I don't like to, dwell too much on that, because the whole thing just pisses me off to no end. Okay, and that's based largely on personal reasons, which I don't want to get into here because it's personal. But to suffice it to say, I've been around a lot of people like her, who I can tell when they're telling a lie. Okay, I've grown up around these people, and I've learned, how to spot when they're telling a lie. Because a lot of times the lie they say isn't really that important. Why lie about it, right? So, because of her, or because of them rather, Casey Anthony, I can read, pretty bad. I mean, not bad, but I mean, I can read her pretty good to know that she's bad. I think, and this is just my theory at this point, I think I understand what happened in that household, okay? And I just want to give you this here, okay? And you can decide whether you think that's right or wrong, because I think the other alternative that people have been saying about why she had her daughter killed is just as viable that way too. But this is how I see it. I think that, she grew up in a house where the mother was really dominant, okay? And her father was the go-to guy when she wanted something, okay? I mean, I think even in my family, my sister always knew, and I always knew to go to my mother, for the treats and to avoid the old man, because he was the disciplinarian in the house, okay? But I think in Casey's home, it was the other way around. Her mother was the disciplinarian, the aggressive one, and her father was the guy that she buttered up to when she wanted something, okay? And one of the reasons I think that is because when you look at the interviews that when her parents were talking to her daughter while she was in jail, she was very loose language, fuck this, and and swearing and all that. I would have never talked like that to my father or my mother, regardless of where I was, okay? But she showed a great deal of, arrogance and condescension to her parents, and her father just never would say anything like, "Oh, watch the language" or anything like that. No. But her mother was like, her stern look in her daughter's eye, almost like she's trying to control her natural tendencies to just, stop acting like that, stop, And the fact that they all knew, I think, they all knew that that was being videotaped and stuff like that, that they just weren't going to make a scene in there that was going to get out of control. Because I think Casey Anthony was a girl that if you tried to corner her, she's going to come back swinging. Okay? She's just like that kind of a person. She's like her mother, I think, in that regard. Very temperamental. And so that was a big red flag to me. That kind of said, Christ, that sounds like, somebody I know. But anyway, back to her and the family. I think that when she had her child, and I find it weird that nobody seemed to give a shit who the father was, about that. It's like, we don't care who impregnated you as long as now you got a granddaughter. And I think that was a big telling sign that, they were so happy about a granddaughter and and everything. And I'm thinking, why are they acting this way? Like, like some parents would say, well, who got you pregnant? Who did, who's the father? You didn't hear any discussion about that. Even in trial, you didn't hear much discussion about that. Okay? And I don't even think any of us ever saw the father of that child. So I don't know about, that, why that happened that way. But all I can say is that from an outsider looking at this on the experiences that I've had growing up, it sounds to me like the mother was so overwhelmed with the idea of having to raise another girl that her daughter Casey was sort of like, in the background, like, well, I failed with her, but maybe I can make a success out of this one. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. I said, there was a dynamic like that in my own family, okay, where, you got, a grandmother or grandfather, whatever, treating their grandkids really nice, and the kids they had kind of look at that, like, thinking, wow, that wasn't the way she was when she was raising me. And I came to think over the years that maybe as people get older, they realize the mistakes they made when they were younger raising their kids, and they want to do right this time. Okay, and maybe that pissed Casey off. I think Casey got jealous of that her mother was trying so hard to do the right thing by having time with Kaylee, and spending time with her granddaughter and treating her nice and everything. I think it really, really made her jealous. Like, why didn't my mother ever try and do that with me? Why did my father didn't try, treating me like that? And I think because of Casey's mental problems, that exacerbated into doing something in a very extreme and very deadly, and that's to take her own daughter out of the picture, so her mother would focus back on her again, okay, on herself, and that the little girl is no longer there. And that's probably why, she feels, when she talks about Kaylee, it's like, people ask her, well, where do you think she is? And all she says is, well, I know she's okay wherever she's at. And that's the only way she answers that question. I know she's okay. No concern in her voice as to where she might be, who might have taken her. Because if there was a father here that raised this kid, it's not the Virgin Mary here, okay, then why not the theory that, oh, well, maybe the father came back and took the kid? If there's going to be any lie to be made, why not that, okay? But no, she never says anything. She just says, well, I know she's okay wherever she is, which is, like I said, a brush-off answer to a question that's a very serious question to ask, that everybody wants an answer to. So, you have to wonder, is that the reason? The theory I just put out, why she killed her daughter, was out of jealousy because her mother was putting on a whole different attitude, raising that little girl, and that just drove her to the friggin' brink, okay? And once she got her out of the picture, I mean, of course, she's going to feel elated, like, oh, now I've taken care of a problem, let's go out and party, and to hell with wherever the hell the girl, you know, and totally forgetting the fact that, you know, hey, you know, somebody's going to wonder where she is, you know. She was so absorbed in her own fun and games, you know, of taking the chance away for her mother to try to do the right thing as a grandmother. She felt like, you know, hey, I got rid of two birds with one stone. I got rid of a daughter, and now my mother can't pretend or can't try to be a better person with her, and when she couldn't be for me. You know, it was like wiping away, you know, something that was really bothering her at the time. And that's just my theory. I mean, of course, I also think that the other theory is just as viable. Like, you know, she just, after a while, got sick and tired of Kaylee and decided, I just want to get rid of her. I mean, I'm a single mother, and I don't want to be a single mother. I want to party. I want to still live like a teenager, you know, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I think there's just as much viability in that story, too. I'm just trying to look at this because the oddity of the parents is always stuck with me about this whole thing. Over the years, it's been more about thinking with the parents, why were they acting this way? Why are they doing this? Why are they covering for her? You know, and you know, and more so than about Casey herself, because, you know, Casey, you know, is Casey. She's a damaged person. She's going to be dangerous for society, and recently, you know, she's made another documentary that's on the streaming service called Peacock, which I don't have because I had it for a while, but there was really nothing on there to watch, so I just quit using it. It's free. If you want to watch it, you know, it's free. So, of course, YouTube now, you could probably find it on YouTube now because everybody's kind of downloaded it and picked it apart and everything. But yeah, she's come out with another documentary, another attempt at trying to clean her image up, because I think, you know, with Casey, she's getting sick and tired of going places, people recognizing her and shunning her everywhere she goes, and I think she's had enough of it. And Peacock comes along and says, hey, we'll give you X amount of dollars if you want to do a documentary. You know, hell, who's going to say no, right? Especially her. So yeah, she said, yeah, sure. So, you know, they created this highly edited, and I think in some spots, pretty, you know, scripted in places, of an interview, which isn't live, and it isn't like, you know what I'm saying? It's recorded. I mean, it's made like a movie. It's got music playing in the background, this eerie Stephen King kind of music, you know, whenever she's talking about bad things. You know, so it's designed to evoke, you know, a perception from you as the audience to draw yourself, to get drawn into this thing, you know, to feel sympathetic towards her, or to maybe she's right about this, or, you know what I'm saying, trying to question what your convictions were before, you know, the video. So right off the bat, you know, it's a, how can I call it, it's a propaganda piece, you know, designed to alter your way of perception about her. Okay, it's not honest, and she certainly goes back on a lot of the tropes she was, you know, spewing during the trial, you know, about, oh, my daddy, you know, molested me or something, you know, this you know, that accusation that she's been flouting around. And now she's included her brother into that too now in this video. I don't think she mentioned anything about her brother in the trial, but she's brought the brother into it now. And I can only say is if she's trying to improve her acceptability in the public, why does she go back on these things that everybody knows is full of crap? You know, people have already made up their minds about her father. They've already made up their minds about her. And for how many years now? 10? You know, has it been 10 years now, I think? I don't know. I think it's been 10 years. She's had a lot of time to polish her story. And if she wanted to tell a story where she's, you know, kind of saying things that she didn't say in trial or didn't have the chance to, why is she still repeating the same, you know, things in trial. And the only thing I can think of is that because she got off from this murder case, she was exonerated. Those lies, I guess, in her mind, seem to work. So why change it? Why go back and alter it? Because then people would know then that she's lying, right? So she really has no choice. She's boxed herself in way back 10 years ago when she was in trial and made these stories and won her case. So 10 years later, doing a video now about it is like, well, now the only difference is we're going to add music in the background. We're going to pretty her up a little bit more. We'll coach her a little bit on how to say things. You know, we'll script parts of it so she can say things clearly, and it's not going to sound like it's just coming off the cuff. And you know, we're going to try it this way. Okay, so I mean, that makes me wonder: the person that put this together, do they think she's innocent? Okay, the person that made this documentary, if they think that she's innocent, then obviously this is not a very good documentary because they've already made up their mind as to her innocence or guilt beforehand. Because to me, you know, they asked, you know, she brought up Zanny the nanny, okay, again, and the interviewer had asked her, well, she was missing for 31 days. Why is that or something? You know, she never did follow up on why the nanny was supposedly gone for this period of time. But when we already know that was a lie too, because you know, she got sued by the person she claimed was the nanny, and so I mean, it was just it was very awkward that the interviewer would not follow up on some serious answers that were given to questions that a lot of people would still like to know the answer to this day. And you know, it's not a very good interviewer. It's focused a lot on presentation of Casey Anthony, and focuses on how the story she wants to deliver, which is not too far different from what we heard in court. Okay, but like I said, she's gone back on a lot of things that's already been either unproven or just simply ignored. Okay, but certainly the accusation about her father was never followed up on or proven. Okay, so that's why it still remains an accusation and nothing more. And the fact that she put her brother into this thing is also unproven and just an accusation. Okay, so you know, the fact that she still wants to stand on that lily pad there, I guess, to keep herself above, you know, getting in trouble, just tells me that, you know, she's too afraid to change the narrative, because she knew that that's what got her free the last time. She so confused the court, the jury, about so much of things that supposedly happened, that it won her freedom. So, like I said, why rock the boat? You know, why change the story? And I think she's, you know, of that mind that she's not going to change the story, but she's going to tell it again in a movie format, you know, like you're watching a Lifetime drama, you know, on TV. Okay. So let's go to commercial break. We'll be right back.
What are you doing? I think there was a slight misunderstanding.
This is me.
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me. This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
First, we're not a cult.
There is a demonic portal, a satanic portal above the White House.
There's ketchup dripping down the wall.
And all of a sudden, I feel a shot on my back, like somebody shot me.
I'm not gonna cower, I'm not gonna run from you.
Hey, we're gonna have kind of a sexual get-together at one of our homes. You should come.
Oh my God.
I was on crack.
Right. Either way, you can pick up a butt plug or a dildo at Target.
Celebrate Father's Day with the best meat America has to offer.
I've never been an escort for Senator Ted Cruz.
My pronoun is kiss my ass.
My pronouns are Trump 1.
My pronouns are Reagan and Trump.
My pronouns are Let's Go Brandon.
2 words for you. Joe Biden is a freaking idiot.
Brian, where's your build back better, motherfucker?
Are you ready to be called a racist?
White supremacy, which, I condone. I condemn.
I'm not proud of black people.
I don't care if Herschel Walker paid to abort endangered baby eagles.
Stand by Herschel tonight.
I am what with many police officers I have trained with the FBI.
That's $20 for Crute. This doesn't include the tequila.
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
If they win, I should get all the credit, and if they lose, I should not be blamed at all.
See that Democrat go ding?
So many people voted on issues that weren't the issues we thought they were voting on.
You think Princess Diana is still alive? Absolutely.
There's not a lot of job market for queer pet literature.
How did you know that President Trump...
Well, there might be somebody else I'd prefer more.
The orange M&M does appear very anxious.
You can declassify just by saying it's declassified, even by thinking about it.
Donald's the only boy that can straighten it out, I'll tell you that.
I actually saw people trying to leave, and people leaving early even before he was done. He's still speaking now. And then they, I think perhaps a little concerned that the hall would empty out too much. They actually started preventing people from leaving, so now they're no longer...
Mom, can I have a popsicle?
No, honey, you'll spoil your...
Hey parents, tired of those out-of-control kids? Throwing embarrassing tantrums wherever they go. At the grocery store, on the playground, even at the dinner table. You've had it with parenting, but wait, there is a solution. Introducing Naptime, the latest, most effective tool for child tantrum prevention. It's simple. Just douse a rag with our patented Sleepy Time formula, place it over your child's cry hole, press and hold gently for 8 to 12 seconds, and presto, no more tantrum.
I was beginning to think adoption was the only way out. Then a friend of mine introduced me to Naptime. It's never been so quiet around here.
The secret lies in Naptime's revolutionary fast-asleep formula. Developed by military-trained scientist doctors from NASA, Naptime's powerful molecules rush to the child's brain on contact, gently inducing instant tranquility.
This is chloroform.
Already put those wallet-draining crap factories out on the street? That's okay! Naptime works in any situation. On the golf course. An awkward blind date.
I had a really good time tonight.
It even works on pets.
After we had our first child here, we regretted it almost immediately.
We didn't know that she'd cry so much.
Talk about defective. But thanks to Naptime, our little Samantha here hasn't made a noise in weeks. I keep her in a shoebox.
Call now and we'll send you your very own 24-ounce bottle of Naptime solution for only 23 easy payments of $1.99. But wait, there's more! Act quickly and you'll also receive the all-new Dream Sack absolutely free. It's compact and portable for those on-the-go tantrums. Just cover it, tighten it, and forget about it. It's that simple.
We can't breathe good.
So if this looks familiar...
I feel pregnant.
Then don't wait! Order today and join the millions of Americans who just can't stop saying...
Thanks, Naptime.
Thanks, Naptime!
Thanks, Naptime.
Naptime! When they just won't shut up. Naptime is not legal in the following states.
We get it, Donald. You hate us.
To the Losers Project.
And hey, we're not your biggest fans either. But there's one thing you know. We've never lied to you. In a funny way. We're the only people you could trust. We told you that you'd lose. And you did.
But you didn't listen. Now you're losing.
That Mike Pence would stab you in the back on January 6th? And he did.
He's backing away from your train wreck.
How Mitch and Kevin were using your name for money and power? And they are.
Mitch McConnell's Washington consultants are making big money using your name.
And we told you Ron DeSantis was coming for you.
He's making it his Republican Party.
And now he thinks he's bigger than you.
You've probably heard this before, but it was smaller than we expected.
Now we're telling you the truth again.
And there's no one you can trust. No one.
They're turning on you. All of them. We tell you we're sad for you. But like we said before, we always tell you the truth.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, everybody, welcome. Just before we had New Year's, I found this little toy here in Dollar Tree, and it's pretty nice. Look what it does. You can have it do a display, or if you press the button and hold it for 30 seconds, it'll just continually go until the battery dies. But otherwise, it'll play that. It's really good. I mean, it shows up on the ceiling and everything. It's really small. It's just a little tiny thing, but it puts out a lot of light. So it's really nice. It runs on a little watch battery. And my cat likes it because I put it on the floor and I turn it on, and she likes to sit there and she looks around and everything. You know. So yeah. Casey Anthony. Probably still the most hated woman in America, aside from Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. Okay, you know, that's always gonna be a temporary label to anybody that we hate at the moment. But there's always somebody new coming down the pike. You know, they'll upset that. About the interviewer, okay, they designed this new documentary in such a way that it's really one-sided, because you're not hearing I mean, you're hearing the whole story from just her, okay, but nobody gets their say in it, okay. I mean, a good interviewer is going to go to the other side, interview the father, the mother, okay, the brother, you know, and ask them questions about what she said and see what they think about it. That would be, you know, a good interviewer would do that. And it might even draw more interest to the documentary itself if it wasn't all about her. But that's what she spends the whole time in this documentary doing, is talking about me. You know, very little of it about her daughter and about her relationship to her and how hard it is for her to live every day knowing her daughter's not there and not seeing her and everything. I mean, you would think that anybody who's missing a child would spend all their time, especially in 10 years, wondering, thinking, you know, always going to the cops or getting people to search and, you know, following up leads, even, you know, trying to do something. Because she said, and I can't remember when she said this, but she did say at some point after the trial she was going to spend all her waking days trying to find her daughter, and she hasn't spent one fucking day doing that since then, okay, not one. Instead, what we see is her videotaping herself getting into confrontations with people in restaurants, in stores, people who hate her, okay? And I think she's had enough of that. That's what I think it is that she agreed to having this damn documentary just so she could get her mouth out there, basically, to shut the critics up. This is what happened, okay? You know, this is what it is. You guys are wrong, you know. And the thing of it is that she doesn't realize that people just ain't believing her. Her stories aren't gelling. They're not making any sense. Okay, she's contradictory in a lot of things, and she's very indifferent to things that she says happen, but you don't see any emotion on her face about a lot of it. You know, you just don't see it. And a lot of people, you know, when she's doing her interview and she's constantly brushing her hair back, well, that's a sign that she's more important about how people are reading her. Okay, because a lot of times when people are doing stuff like that, they're not trying to keep, you know, their makeup looking good, or they're keeping their hair back out of their face, you know. And she does a lot of that. She's, you know, like always adjusting. She's more involved with her appearance in this video than she is worrying about whether people believe her story or not. And of course, then, you know, the interviewer asked her about, you know, why did you lie to the police the whole time, you know, initially? And her answer was, well, I lied my whole life. You know, my whole life I lied, and that led to the, you know, the father and the brother and all that bullshit there about, you know, the accusations. Okay, but I think what it is that she lied to her mother a lot. Okay, so she could get her way in a lot of things. Maybe not so much with her father, but with her mother she did, because, you know, like I said, in my opinion, I think the mother was the disciplinarian in that house. She's the one that's got the, you know, the cojones to stand up to her daughter. And when it came to lying to get her way, you know, that's what her mother would get, and her father might have the better chance of getting the truth. Which is why I think the father took all this so hard, because he's thinking of all the things that I'd done for her over the years, you know, and this is what I get in return. You know, I get this, and then I get lies. And that's why he's like, when you watch the interviews and, you know, the prison interviews and stuff, you'll see that he's kind of sits back like this, and the mother's like right there, you know. So you see the mother being confrontational with the daughter, and the father's just kind of resigned to, you know, I'm disappointed in her, I'm so mad at her, I don't even want to look at her or talk to her. But he's there just the same, because of appearance. They know these things are being recorded. He's a former cop. He knows this, okay, that every interview is being taped. All right. And so he's there to, you know, he does, you know, he's like he's caught in the middle. It's his daughter, and yet it's his enemy, because in his back of his mind, he feels that she did it. She offed her daughter, okay? But he doesn't want to turn his back on her, because there was history. There were good times, there were bad times. Okay, she doted a lot on him. He can't let her go. But I'll tell you, over time, after that trial, he has. I mean, I think he's shut the door on her big time, and that's why she's come back to throw him under the bus in this new video that this new documentary. She's throwing her father back under the bus, and now she's putting her brother under there too. Okay, and those are probably the two people who don't want to speak to her anymore. Her mother still has the door open to her, okay, but they're not like really talking a lot. But when she calls the house, she's the one that answers the phone when it's her daughter on the line, okay? The father, I think, has pretty much closed the door to her. Doesn't want to really know anything what she's doing. I think the last time the two of them talked, I think he was trying to get her to confess, you know, and she just won't do it, you know. Instead, she tries to, you know, say, well, he might have drowned my daughter in the swimming pool, because when I saw him, he was standing there in the living room all dripping wet and holding, you know, and I was sleeping. Okay, that's one accusation she's throwing at her father, and the other accusation is the sexual thing. Okay, so she's twice throwing her father under the bus here, trying to get him to take all the blame. Basically, you know, everybody stop looking at me and look at my father. He's the one that did it, you know. So she's really, really a cruel bitch to have for a daughter, you know. And her real nature came out when I mean, people always say, when you're in the worst situation imaginable, your true character will come out. Okay? It always does. Because you're too busy trying to survive, you know, fight or flight, than to worry about appearances. Okay, you'll use whatever skill you got for self-preservation. And believe me, those days, the interviews, the trial, all that shit, her true nature was very hard to hide. I mean, she's too damn busy trying to lie her way back to freedom. Okay, not a concern given about her daughter. Okay, not a concern given about her lawyer telling her that we're going to use your father as a scapegoat. Okay, and the fact that her father even knew this and accepted it, even though he hated the lawyer for using this motive to save his daughter, he sat there and took it. He sat there and took the accusations when he really wanted to throttle that attorney, Jose Baez, for even bringing that shit up. Okay, for even making the accusation to try to throw off the jury. But I don't think the jury was really buying it the way the attorney was throwing it, and that's why he kind of, nothing more was said about it until after that. So I think that with Casey, her true nature had come out in that trial, and her father, I think, in a lot of ways, knew that part of her personality was there, but to come out and lash at him the way she did and try to get him mixed up into her mess to the point where he could have been arrested, and investigated, which I'm sure at some point maybe there was. I don't know if he ever was investigated. I don't know, but if there was, nothing was found. But the thing of it is that because they uttered that in court, in front of the cameras, in front of millions of people around the country, okay, that heard this, he must have felt that big, okay? And I can't imagine a guy, I can't imagine the love that he had for his daughter to let her go on the stand and say all that shit, knowing that she was throwing him under the bus. That's why I say the relationship between him and his daughter had to be pretty solid. Okay, I mean, she broke that relationship during that trial. That ended right there. But before that, but for him to want to go take that fall for her so she would be free, that says a lot about that man that she doesn't even understand. She doesn't even appreciate, for that matter, okay, that her father would do this for her. I mean, that's like laying your life down to save your daughter, okay? And it went right over Casey's head that her father was that much of a man to do that for her, okay? That he went up there and allowed that fucking attorney to put him on the spot, to question him. I mean, he wanted to kill himself. Remember that when he made an attempt at killing himself, okay? And for whatever reason, it didn't work. He survived it, and I wish I was a fly on the wall in that house between her mother and father, the conversations that were said in that house. And I'll tell you another thing, bringing up her mother now in this. If you look at her mother during the trial, she was thin. She was, I doubt she weighed much more than 120 pounds, if that. But you look at her mother today, and she's like, and I'm not making fun of fat people here, but I'm just saying, when people are under stress, okay, a lot of times they turn to food, and they just eat. I mean, I do that, okay? When I'm under stress, I do the same fucking thing. That's why I weigh so much, all right? I know it's a mental problem, and when going on a diet, if you don't deal with the mental problem behind the reason you're dieting, then you're not going to win that fucking war. Okay, you're going to go right back to an old pattern. So you have to deal with yourself on a psychological level as well as on a physical level when you're trying to cut your weight down, and that's a hard battle to fight. Okay, I mean I was a lot heavier than I am now. Okay, but I've lost a lot in that time, and I've been able to maintain it. Okay, it's a constant fight, but the longer you fight it, it gets easier in some ways. Your habits about what you buy and stuff will change, and you'll start eating better. Okay, so then it makes it easier to maintain the weight you're at. All right, now her mother, like I said, she's put on a lot of weight since in 10 years, a lot of weight. That tells me that she's either trying to keep something buried that's so troubling that it disturbs her greatly. And you could see it in her face. I mean, they've got great big lines and stuff like that, her mother went through hell for her daughter, and also the fact that, you know, she has no granddaughter, okay, and her father, you know, his problems are more like internalized, you know, in his mind, and I'm sure he tries to deal with it in his own way, but I don't see that the two of them, his wife and him, are close like they used to be, because she still keeps the doors of communication open with her daughter, and he's kind of shut them because he can't deal with that anymore. Okay, it's too painful to talk to a daughter that you know, or maybe suspect greatly as being the reason why you don't have granddaughter Kaylee anymore, whom they all liked. Okay, and that she would do something so despicable and not try and discuss what she was going through with her parents. And maybe they could have come to a better solution than what she ultimately did, you know, on her own. You know, I mean, before you ever think about killing anybody or a child even, you know, find somebody, you know, tell somebody your problem, what you're feeling, for Christ's sake, because you don't want, you know, this thing to get so out of control that there's blood on the walls, blood on your hands, and then you're fighting, you know, a war in court to try to keep yourself out of prison. Okay, you don't want things to go that way. It might seem that you can get away with it, but you know, it's a lot harder now to get away with crimes like that because of DNA evidence and you know, and whatnot. And the only way a lot of people can get away from serious crimes is if they have a good attorney that has no ethics. Okay, that they'll say a damn anything that comes to mind just to get their client off. To me, I think that's wrong. I think that if you know your client is guilty of something, okay, whatever you're defending them on, the attorney should not put their bar on the line, okay, to defend that person. I think, you know, some agreement has to be reached between the client and the attorney and say, look, I'll defend you to a point, but if I have to go over the line to defend you, to create lies, to perjure, or you know, or get you to perjure yourself and all that, I can't do that because that puts my job on the line. Okay, I could lose my bar if I take it to that point. So I think there has to be, you know, some discussion in this country about how far attorneys are allowed to go. Okay, I know it's not really spelled out, you know, as it is today, how far they can go. In fact, they kind of leave the door wide open. If your attorney wants to go out and kill somebody, for Christ's sake, you know, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I'm just exaggerating there, but I'm just saying, you know, they're allowed to cross any ethical line that's there to protect their client. To me, that's just opening the door for a lot of criminals to get away scot-free in this country for things. But I think that there has to be discussion about that because Jose Baez, as far as I'm concerned, is a piece of shit. Okay, he's the attorney's worst enemy. Okay, because this guy has no ethics. He went there, he got blowjobs from Casey Anthony in payment for his services. Okay, that got out. Okay, so you know this guy was abusing his own client behind doors. Okay, and at the same time he was telling, I'm going to throw your father under the bus so I can get you off. You know, and he didn't even care. He didn't even fucking care. You know. Didn't bat an eyelash or nothing. That guy's is a piece of crap. Probably brought up, you know, in a friggin' gutter somewhere. Probably no parents have any class at all. He doesn't deserve that job as an attorney. He's dishonored it, and I think every lawyer in this country ought to get behind having his ass taken out of the system. Okay, because he's just not, you know, he's a bad apple as far as I'm concerned. The judge letting him get away with some of the things that he did really is, you know, surreal. You know, another thing about, you know, Casey's documentary, when you see it, a lot of times you see her, you know, answering questions, and she's always looking away when she answers it. She doesn't maintain eye contact with the interviewer. And of course, the camera angles are weird. You know, you ever watch Batman TV show from the 60s? whenever they want to make the drama look more intense, they always tilt the camera at a 45-degree angle, okay? Which is always bizarre because I know they're trying to follow the way the things are drawn in the comic books and stuff like that, because that's what they do in the comics, is if they want something to look more dramatic, they tilt the perception of what you're looking at, with the bubble, with the words and stuff. They tilt it, well, they were trying to copy that in the TV show as they were filming it, okay? They just took cues from the comic book itself, and they were doing those things to dramatize it. That's kind of what they were also doing in this documentary, is that they were using camera angles to draw more intensity in the moment with the music and the background and everything. I mean, what I'm describing here is nothing new, because when you watch an episode of Law and Order and stuff like that, they do the same damn thing. So what I'm describing to you is just, this, you should already know this, okay? That's what they're doing it for, all right? And so that's why this documentary plays more like a movie than it does a documentary or an interview, because it doesn't feel like it's off the cuff. It doesn't feel like there's anybody really doing any investigating away from her, because to do a very good investigation, you want to get both sides of the fucking story, and they didn't do that. Okay, in this video, in this documentary, they didn't bother with that. I guess it was just too much trouble. They were too busy trying to make this all about her, because they figure, well, she draws a crowd. You put her anywhere and she draws a crowd, and it's true, because that's why every time she goes someplace, people recognize her. In a minute, there's a sea of protesters. Okay, and she gets into fights in bars, and she's asked to leave some places that she goes into. I mean, she's still shunned. People still hate her. They recognize her face is so recognizable. You can't, I mean, she's got that friggin' devilish look in her face all the time. You can't miss it, So when they see her, people immediately, oh, that's that bitch that killed, and right off the bat, drinks are flying, there's eggs and tomatoes in the air, and she's running for the damn doors, okay? And she's sick of being shunned, and I think that was a big motivator behind why she wanted to have this video done, was that she's trying to, get her say, because nobody wants to hear her answers to anything. Nobody wants to hear her story, her lies, or anything that she says. They just want her out of their face, because they think she deserves to be behind bars, and I'm surprised that she isn't living in some isolated community somewhere in the Midwest, instead of being right in the middle of fucking hell, where but that's where she is, and I can't see that her situation is ever going to get any better. And she created this bed for herself, just like O.J. Simpson did. O.J.'s the same way. He can go anywhere, and people are going to see him, and they're going to be one of two reactions. They're either going to get up and leave, or they're going to go up and say, "Oh, great, and because they believe he's innocent." Okay, and I imagine he gets a lot of flack wherever he goes, which is why he probably doesn't go places that much. We don't see him a lot in the news anymore. But that's the same thing. A guy that was found innocent for a crime that only he could have committed, as far as the motivation and the method of the crime, only he could have done it. And if it wasn't for a sloppy police investigation and some slick attorneys that he hired, he might have been sitting life in prison. Okay, and a lot of people in this country think that's where he belongs. Same thing with her. If she didn't have a slick attorney, okay, and she wasn't lying about everything she was saying on the stand, okay, she could have gotten life in prison, or even the death penalty for that matter. Who knows how far they would have punished her. But like I said, she got lucky too. You can say, well, that's a problem in the justice system, and I could agree, to some degree on that. I don't think justice is blind. I think that some people can curry favor. And as far as Casey goes, she wasn't a celebrity, and she wasn't rich, so you can't really put her on the same plateau as O.J. Simpson, where O.J. was an actor and a football player, and he had celebrity status and everything. That's why he could afford all those attorneys. she wasn't on that level. So, you know, she got exonerated simply by having the most crooked lawyer in America defending her. All right. So whenever you see this guy being used to defend somebody, you know the guy's probably guilty, and he needs a crooked attorney to get him free. And that right there is a big tell there. But if you want to see that documentary, if you do, okay, I'm not saying don't watch it. I'm never going to tell anybody what to do. Okay, all I'm saying is this is what I saw. This is how I feel about the documentary. This is what I feel about her. And every time she comes out and opens her mouth about that period in her life there that she derailed, whenever, you know, I see that, you know, it angers me, and I hate her, because I see a lot of other people that I've met in life that piss me off to no end, okay? And I can tell when she's lying, okay? Christ, she could probably be a member of my own family. You know, that's how much that she resembles, you know, somebody that does that kind of shit. But she's really a bad apple, and I can't see, other than making money, why anybody would want to give her camera time again. Okay, because, you know, they're picking up a 10-year-old story that people still have fresh in their mind about her. You know, they don't like her, and you know, I guess, you know, maybe Peacock, the streaming service, is probably looking for more viewers or something, and they figure, let's get something controversial out there that'll get some public attention, and that's what they got. And I imagine maybe some people signed up for Peacock, you know, just so they could watch the thing, but they're not going to get anything that hasn't already been said, okay? But you can watch it in other ways, in other formats and stuff, because you don't have to pay to watch it. It's just an interview that, you know, that they put up there. And as far as she's concerned, she's worse now than she was 10 years ago. That means she's twice as dangerous now. Okay, if any guy is out there that's dating her, if she has a boyfriend or something by some chance, he better sleep with one eye open at night, because if it was easy for her to kill her own daughter, just think about how easy it's going to be to kill her own husband if they had a fight the night before. He better not sleep in the same bedroom with that, okay? Because she'll, you know, she knows who to call to get her off of that, you know, that thing. All right, but you know, she's a dangerous girl, and nobody should really want to be around her or anything like that, because she's dishonest. She's not going to tell you the truth. She's not going to be your best friend, okay? She doesn't care about any of that. Her focus is on herself 24/7. Herself. And she don't think that she's thinking about her daughter. Don't go to her and say, oh, I hope you find your daughter. She's not thinking that. She doesn't care, okay? She doesn't care. She says her daughter is okay wherever she is. In her mind, she's already, you know, moved past losing her daughter. She's already gone past that. That's old stuff. That's a previous life as far as she's concerned. Doesn't matter at all, you know. So anyway, that's, you know, if you want to watch it, go ahead and watch it, okay? You might see some of the same things I saw when I watched it. And if you do, go ahead and comment on the video here. I'd like to hear, you know, your perceptions about the Peacock interview of this woman here. And please subscribe and comment, and keep your eyes and ears open to local COVID-19 news. It's still a thing out there that we got to deal with, and I hope everybody will treat each other fine, especially this year. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on this year that's going to piss everybody off, but we have to double down on, you know, learning what to accept things we can't change, okay, and change the things that we can. And right now, changing our personal attitudes again for each other is something we can change, okay, if you want to. So I will talk to you again later. So take care, everybody.